Mama nimekosa nini mwanao kunikimbia? Umeniwachia nani mwingine wa kunilea? Nimebaki na huzuni zina wa kumtekea. Kindani ngali mtini zina mama kunilea. Ukumbuki wa zamani mama nikakulilia. Kindani ngali mtini zina mama kunilea. Mimi na baba nyumbani wenyewe twajipikia. Baba na chanja kuni na mimoto urejea. Uendapo kwa jirani michezo twajichezea. Mwenzangu itwa nani nami kwetu chochea. Ukumbuki wa zamani mama nikakulilia. Kindani ngali mtini zina mama kunilea. Mbarikiwe.
In Kitale, a small rural town in western Kenya, there are beds and there are streets. Those in beds will soon wake up to familiar comforts and customs. Those on the streets will find themselves alive again against a more uncertain backdrop.
Jina langu naitwa John Lorot. Niko na miaka 13. Penye mimi nalala mjini. Utanipata tu mimi nimelala hapo. Nimeingia ndani ya gunia nimelala. Hata ukija ukipita hapo utafikiria ni msiga wa mama. Nisi tu peke yake, natandika hii, na nafunikana hii, nachukua silipasi yangu naweka hapa ndani na nalala. Sina blanketi, nisi peke yake ndio nafunikana kila siku. Naitwa Paula Etabu. Mimi ninakaa na Kipirito. Mimi nalala ndio nyumbani. Sisi haturuhusi kulala hapa lakini tunalala tu. Ini shida yenye iko na baridi yenye natukula. Tunalala nje kama tuongea kitu tunalala tu nje. Sasa asubuhi kuamka unaenda kutafuta msaada wako wakula. sababu hakuna pande nyingine unaitegemea wewe. Sisi nalala tu hapa na chini. Baridi nyingi lakini natulia tu. Ajili hakuna problem.
Police in her hometown of Smyrna, Tennessee have issued an Amber Alert, hoping you can help them find Annalise and bring her home safely. Joining us now on the phone, Sergeant Ken Hampton of the Smyrna Police Department.
We're asking that if anybody has any information, I may have possibly seen the young lady to contact us here at Smyrna Police Department.
And police say a father was not even aware his children were missing. Little children gone for 12 hours. They were found walking through a neighborhood just a few blocks from their home.
It's good that the kids are safe, but unbelievable that they were wandering the streets at 12:30 in the morning.
Neighbors saw the boys, ages 1 and 3, walking around early this morning.
The mystery of 2 toddlers found wandering alone on an upland street last night has been solved. 1-year-old Shane Jimenez and his 3-year-old brother Scott were spotted by a passing driver just after midnight.
2 young children were found wandering in an upland neighborhood at 12:30 this morning. The kids were so young they could provide almost no clues about their parents or where they lived.
The children were found wandering the streets early this morning. It was the children's grandfather who discovered the kids were missing.
An ocean away from the urgency of Amber Alerts, the story of brothers Charles and Thomas will never make the headlines. Charles is 4 years old and is the self-appointed caretaker of 2-year-old Thomas. Though they have not yet been initiated into the ranks of older street boys, they search for the same scraps of food and semblances of shelter. Unlike the older ones, though, they haven't lost their naivete yet and continue looking for amusement in their harsh surroundings. But as they grow up and shed playfulness for survival skills, Charles and Thomas will face the pressures of street life and, like countless numbers of children before them, begin looking for something new to numb and divert their pain. A conservative estimate places the worldwide population of street children at 100 million. Children are left to fend for themselves in sub-Saharan Africa for a number of reasons. Some are runaways. Many flee from abusive homes, and the majority, an estimated 34 million, are orphans. This is in large part due to the spread of HIV/AIDS, which is ravaging cities and dissolving families, particularly in the developing world. In sub-Saharan Africa alone, there's an estimated 11 million children orphaned by the disease, and for them, the streets are the only real option. Kitale is one of tens of thousands of cities that have been devastated by the pandemic. Here, in a relatively small geographical block of 80,000, an estimated 1,300 children call the streets their home.
Evans Mkarani, niko na miaka 6. niko na miaka fulani. Ni hapa hivi nyumbani hapa hivi Mitume. Mimi naishi town na mahali ya kulala ni varanda. Ilikuwa kitu kama Jumapili hivi. Sasa vile babangu alikuja akanitafuta, akanishika akanipeleka nyumbani.
Jina langu naitwa Geoffrey Chan. Baba aliuliwa basi na wajamba. Alafu mama aanza kuwa mgonjwa hivi akapapara. Mimi wakati mama na baba alikufa, nilikuwa nafikiria mtu anasaidia pale kunipeleka shule masomo. Naendelea nisome. Nifugie mambo kama Mungu atanisaidia nikuwe daktari ama mwalimu, yote ni sawa. Ndio maisha nilikuwa nafikiria. Shughuli zetu kama kwenda kwa nini? Sisi tumeamka hapa asubuhi kukuja kwa hata moto ikisimika kama hatuna pesa kwenda kununua chakula. Leo tunatembea tu kama nyama mmoja kwa pipa kidogo. Sina kula tu hata kama ni mbaya tumbo ikituma, Mungu mwenyewe atusaidia. Sasa tuna chakula. Sasa sisi wili njaa siku hizi imetulemea sana. Tupale kukula hapana. Wataki sisi tunaleta. Wanasema tuzidi kwa na manyumbani na hakuna. Hadi tuende shule na hata sisi. Sasa hakuna mwenye anaweza kutusukua hizi hadi tuende shule. Sasa tunafikiria hata pale tutapata chakula hata. Sijui ni wapi. Hata pale sijana tulikuwa nalala hapa tulikuwa nafikiria mawazo mengine kubwa sana. Sisi jana tulikuwa nalala hapa tulikuwa nafikiria mawazo mengine kubwa sana. Ndoto tunapata ndoto ya mashetani. Mawazo tunafikiria kwa kichwa ya wazazi. Bila lianga dunia. Mawazo mbaya sana. Na hata tu mawazo ya wazazi. Tunaona kama mzazi wetu amekuja haiko kipengo. Haiko hai. Sasa kidogo tunasikia ndio mawazo tena na katika kwa kichwa ndoto ni mbaya.
Najikuta tuko town.
Najikuta tuko town. Hatuna kwetu na hatuna baba na mama. Naishi peke yetu.
As Jeffrey's circle warms itself by the fire, Paul and his friends abandon their sleeping porch before the owner of this shop arrives to work. Paul grabs their makeshift blankets, thin gunny sacks intended for holding corn, and hides them in the rafters above the shop's porch. These bags and the clothes on their backs are their only belongings. They also stand as the only defense against the cold night air.
Kama nikiamka naenda kunawa uso ama natafuta kwa hata chakula kidogo, naomba Mungu na nakaa tu.
Maji kujikunywa. Yeye anajua kweli matoto mbaro.
Wewe mkienda juu. Tukimbie ukienda juu hivi.
Naitwa Bosco Ekidor. Babangu na mamangu sababu walikufa sababu ya ukimwi. Nimeipigwa. Nilikuwa mgeni. Wewe nilikuwa nataka kupigwa. Nilipiga hapo line moja hapo ghetto. Sasa nataka kunyang'anya pesa. Kama hakuna na kucharaza na wembe. Flower wengine walifuta na naanza kufuata. Nilipanda tu nisaidie nifuta tu kabaridi tu. Lakini niliona ile mzuri ni gum.
Inhaling the toxic fumes of substances such as glue is a universal occurrence among street children. Though Bosco is thousands of miles away from the orphans in Brazilian favelas, the slums of India, or the underground of Ukraine, he shares with them in this culturally accepted addiction. For kids who opt into sniffing, glue effectively provides insulation against the climate, dulls hunger pangs, and provides a distraction from the emotional ones. Because of the glue's pacifying high, street children pose no threat of violence to their communities. Thus, governments arguably have little to no incentive to intervene and curb the abuse. The highly accessible name-brand glue Bosco sniffs is categorized as a solvent-based adhesive, which means it contains brain-damaging chemicals. Dr. Herbert Schomburg is a department chair at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. He is among the world's foremost authorities in the field of neurotoxicology.
The most neurotoxic components are toluene and N-hexane. These substances are used to help evaporate the paint or evaporate the glue. And they're very, very inexpensive. And if you or I were to sniff it, we would get a profound headache probably. But once you get past that, you develop a mild sense of narcosis. You become somewhat sleepy. And children who do it a lot will go through that phase to where they get actually euphoria. And in some cases, they will actually hallucinate.
As Kitale's daily routine is set into motion, the glue boys are pushed into corners and alleyways where they begin their daily routine, begging for charity to buy glue.
Jina langu Musa Lorukia, niko na miaka 10. Najua mama yangu alikufa na baba. Baba yangu na mama yangu alikufa kwa ugonjwa wa ukimwi. Kwa sababu mama yangu alikufa na baba, kaamua kuja mtaani. Ilikuwa mama unajua vile nitoka nyumbani. Mama alikuwa ananichapa sana, lakini sasa ndio nikaamua nikuje niishi town. Sikuwa na njia yote ya kwenda.
Niona kama huyo mtoto amemshika hapa, si ndio? Na gokea na kaa, si ndio?
Pile nilikuja hivi sikuwa navuta gamu. Ndio sasa nikaona sasa najua nikaanza kumezea hiyo gamu mate. Sasa alafu ndio nikaanza mimi nikajaribu mpaka nikaivuta. Ndio. Ya unajua unavuta unasikia nini? Unasikia umelewa lakini unasikia baridi lakini hausikii sana. Ndio nasikia baridi. Nilikuwa nafuta, nikifuta tu hivi, wakati walinifundisha na hao machokora wengine, nikifuta hivi, Nasikia tu kichwa nalia majendereta rwe rwe rwe. Naharibu kifua lakini naizuia tu.
Basically, when the kids come to the streets, most of them come with the hopes that the streets will serve them well. But unfortunately, when they come to the streets, they find an opposite of this.
Jeffrey Akumo is a social worker and has helped find stable homes for many of street kids in Kitale.
Because when they come to the streets, they find that it's really difficult to get food. They have to sleep outside the cold. They have to go several days without getting food. And the kids opt into glue sniffing.
I used to use glue when I was in the street. And I come to this street when I was so young, like 7 years old. I lost my parents, I didn't have daddy and mommy. So I come out here to Kitale town and I found friends that they're taking glue. And I wasn't know what's glue, and they're the one teaching me about the glue. And I used to take the glue when I was 7 years until now, until like 14 years old. When I'm taking the glue, it makes my head go fast. Everything I do, like I'm crazy, you know.
Life on the streets is really hard. You find like kids are fighting, there are a lot of problems in the streets, and if you are really normal, you can't live such like a life. So the kids end up sniffing glue so that they get the courage to stay there, they get stronger. They feel when they sniff glue, their life is safer and they have strength to fight back.
You know why they're taking glue? Because nobody taking care of them, because they don't have parents. So that's the only thing. That's the only thing they're gonna take it. Because when they smoke the glue, all the dreams, all like feel like remembers in the memories they getting out from the minds. When you take glue, everything is off. You can't even memorize everything that you have been past. That's why they're taking glue.
And as the glue destroys memories, the chemical toluene works towards destroying the brain.
Toluene is a very, very serious neurotoxin. The problem with sniffing a drug, the reason why sniffing is so much worse than eating a medicine, because when you sniff it, it goes through the lung, to the heart, to the brain. It doesn't pass through the liver first.
For nearly a decade, Joseph Kaguthi served as the coordinator of Kenya's National Agency for the Campaign Against Drug Abuse, a position similar to the US's drug czar.
If they sniff it for long, we have it on a record that the majority of them are not hitting their 20th birthday.
Dr. John Flowers is a professor of psychology at Chapman University. He specializes in group therapy and the effects of bereavement, especially among children.
Use of solvents and glue affects two different aspects of their mental growth. The first is their experiential growth. Anybody who is on drugs at a certain time, as opposed to having a more normal interaction, is not learning whatever the learning thing is in that stage. They're not getting the message, they're not getting the correct learning. That's the psychological or learning effect. But of course, with solvents or glue, you're also causing brain damage, and you're killing a great number of brain cells every time.
Well, sniffing toluene causes a loss of the insulation. You can almost think of it as way it strips varnish from your table. It will strip the insulation, which is also a fatty substance, from the nerve fibers in your brain. Sniffing toluene can certainly be fatal because one, you can sniff so much that you stop breathing. You can suppress your respiration. By and large, its biggest problem is that it causes such severe kidney damage that people die of renal failure.
The reason street children sniff glue is because it's available and it's less expensive. It is probably the single most available drug in the world, actually, if you realize that almost any glue, except that's specifically made to protect children, can in fact cause narcotic effects. Their use of it comes out of both financial issues and because of availability. And of course, it's not illegal.
These kids find glue cheaper. They can find it easily everywhere. That's why most of them have opted to glue sniffing.
These children would normally not turn to drugs at all unless someone made it available. All drugs have drug cultures, but normally 4 and 5-year-olds are not involved in drug cultures. But as more younger kids are on the street, I'm sure that it's financially then worth somebody's while in terms of either what the kid will do for them, the kind of money they can make, steal, or whatever.
Glue sniffing makes the kids more comfortable on the streets because they can feel warm on the streets. They can have the courage to stay on the streets, to forget about their hunger because the glue cuts off their appetite. It makes them high and makes them feel like street is their real home. So if we didn't have glue, most of these kids could have accepted to go into other homes or go back to their homes or get to the orphanages if they are given a chance. Because like now, most of the kids who have been taken to the orphanages, some of them run away because they want to come back to glue.
After being abandoned on the streets by his parents, 10-year-old John started sniffing glue and quickly lost his motivation to leave. The director of Hope of Kenya, a non-profit program designed to teach life skills to street kids, provided a glimmer of hope for John, offering him a place to stay until he got on his feet. The promise of security brought him in, but he couldn't shake his street-born addiction. A mere 2 weeks after he was placed in a stable home, John ran away back to the streets and back to glue.
Akianga mbaya hata nasikia hata nafikiria mama yangu vile alikuwa ananilisha vizuri, lakini alikufa. Sasa nitaenda kwa nani? Nafikiria mbaya sana. Najua nakumbuka hata sasa yenye unapigwa, naona sasa yenye unapigwa, afadhali mama yako nje akupiga, lakini mtu mwingine naona mama yako anakuambianga, hii mtoto yangu hataki mtu, sitaki mtu aguse. Afadhali mimi peke yangu mwenye mkusaa anataka na aguse mimi. Sasa nje alikusaa, hakuna mtu mwingine kama yeye mwenye anakulisha mzuri, hata anaweza kupeleka shule, lakini yeye nje alikuwa anatusimamia hata kwa shule, lakini akakufa. Hakuna mwenye anatunulia za uniform kitu.
Naweza nani wanisaidie, wanipeleke shule. Ingekuwa mimi ningeweza kupata doli, ingefurahisha moyo wangu, yari nipate nyumba.
Moja.
Kama yangu na mama yangu walikuwa kai, nikamwambia nipeleke shule nisome, kesho kufika tufike ng'ambo, kufika kesho nipate kuwasaidia, kwa sababu wao ndio walilea tangu dogo wangu. Lakini sasa vile walianga dunia napata shida kubwa sana. Kama nikikosa chakula, naenda tu kwa hoteli na sababu nisaidie kwa chakula, lakini nyuma naenda tu hata kama ni kwa pipa ile chakula nyamamwaga na kula tu. Kwa sababu unajua hata labda hata hiyo pipa yenye nakula hiyo, labda anaweza kunidanganya hata sumu na siwezi jua sasa. Kwa sababu Mungu mwenyewe ndiye anajua. Ni ile huzuni ya Made na Buda. Ndio huzuni inanifanya binadunga bure. Nikidunga bure naona ni kama changaza, naona sama nyoka inapita mbele, mashilingi masumusumuni hivi. Kitaka kushika inapita misi, kumbe ni yao bure. Hapo naanza moto na kuchoma na kimbia mbio kuachilia nduru. Kumbe ni mawazo ya Made na Buda inafanya hivyo. Nataka niwache kitu. Kwa sababu inaharibu, mimi nasikia inaharibu mtu kichwa na mtu nasikia kuna watu wengi wananiambia kwa town. Ukivuta hii kitu hii, akifika umri kama yake anakufa kwa sababu inakaa kama dot hapa hivi. Akifika umri kama yake anakufa. Ama anaruka kichwa.
Solvent abuse cuts across both history and social strata. In ancient Greece, priestesses at the Oracle of Delphi inhaled the vapor between rocks to induce prophetic trances. In the 1800s, British poetic icons such as Samuel Coleridge and Robert Southey used nitrous oxide as an alternative to alcohol, a more refined intoxication, they thought. Around the same time, ether parties became widespread throughout the Western world and found commoners and social climbers alike staggering around at house parties. In the mid-20th century, inhalant abuse moved its way into the collective consciousness of America, sending Denver, Colorado authorities into frenzy. A 1959 newspaper article uncovered an unsettling reality: that many kids in the community were inhaling the toxic fumes of gasoline and airplane glue. This set off an organized national effort to classify household solvents as narcotics and stop the abuse. All the while, children in the developing world, from Bolivia to Burma, have turned to solvent abuse not because of suburban-born monotony, but out of the need to keep warm, subdue their appetites, and then, after bouts of abuse, because of psychological dependency. A seemingly endless cycle, and to some, a commercially profitable one. Bringing public awareness to this fact, as well as oversight and accountability to companies who manufacture abusable inhalants, has been minimal. But in 1994, Austin, Texas-based attorney Scott Hendler took on the case of a Guatemalan boy who died from sniffing the glue of an American-based manufacturer called H.B. Fuller.
The case that we presented was on behalf of a 14-year-old boy, Joel Linares. Joel had died from kidney failure as a result of chronic inhalation of H.B. Fuller glue. We documented that it was H.B. Fuller glue. There was no question that his kidney failure was as a result of inhalation of the chemicals in the glue. It was the narcotic of choice among these adolescent children, and Fuller was gladly supplying that demand.
H.B. Fuller, a corporation based in St. Paul, Minnesota, exported glue to countries throughout Central and South America between the 1970s and early 90s. From Guatemala to Brazil to Honduras, Fuller reaped huge profits from this corner of its market. In Latin America alone, more than 20 million gallons of glue were being evaporated by means of inhalation each week.
Truth is that it ended up becoming a bottom line issue. It was really indisputable that H.B. Fuller understood the scope of the problem. In approximately 1990, give or take a year, I don't remember if it was 89, 90, or 91, but very early on, they dispatched a team to investigate the problem to Guatemala and Honduras. And we came into possession of an internal memo reporting about that confirmed to the executives at H.B. Fuller in the early part of the 90s, 90, 91, that it was in fact H.B. Fuller glue that was being used by children. So they understood this. They had actual knowledge, indisputable actual knowledge in 1990-91, long before Joel Linares died in 1994.
Hindler, with extensive research in tow and the support of social activists, brought the case before the district court in Fuller's home base of St. Paul. During deliberation, the presiding judge claimed forum non-conveniens, meaning that because Joel Linares was not a U.S. citizen, that the case was outside the court's jurisdiction and thus had to be thrown out.
The result was that the federal judge faced with this case made a decision that I believe was based on convenience to the court and what he could live with politically in that community, not what was based on the law. And I think it was a real abdication of responsibility by the Minnesota federal court not to hear this case. And I think that it could have made a remarkable difference in the lives of many children.
Could H.B. Fuller have produced a glue that was both commercially viable and safeguarded against abuse? Some American manufacturers of solvent-based adhesives have responded to allegations of misuse by adding a nasal irritant to their product lines. Fuller refused to make such a change.
They were inexplicably resistant to including any kind of a inhalant deterrent. Glue companies in the United States, and most notably the Testors airplane glue company, discovered that by adding a chemical called oil of mustard, which is the same thing that's in Chinese mustard that if you get too much of just makes your sinuses explode. They found by putting a little bit of oil of mustard into the glue, it discouraged the sniffing of their product enormously. They found when they added this into the glue, their sales plummeted, almost 50%. But when they realized it was plummeting 50%, they realized they had found what they were looking for, was something to stop kids from sniffing it, because they didn't want half of their market to be kids sniffing their glue. Now, that's a responsible corporate citizen, and they eventually regained their market share. Fuller wasn't willing to do that. Fuller came up with one lame excuse after another. It was going to be dangerous to their employees to include oil of mustard. Now, keep in mind, this is a company that's exposing their employees to N-hexane, hexane, toluene, benzene. What a bunch of nonsense. That oil of mustard, which is approved by the EPA as generally safe and a food additive, would somehow be more of a risk to their employees than these other volatile chemicals.
Even with these proven alternatives, manufacturers, including H.B. Fuller and others, continue to knowingly produce and sell their glue in developing countries, uncontrolled and dangerous as ever. In a few years, Charles and Thomas will reach the age when most street kids become these corporations' accidental consumers. But for now, Charles watches over and guides his younger brother, filling plastic bottles full of nourishing water instead of glue. Unlike most street kids, Charles and Thomas have a living parent, their mother. But local doctors say she's suffering in the advanced stages of syphilis, rendering her unfit to take care of her two sons. These brothers, 2 and 4 years old, are essentially on their own. Soon, they will join a community of adolescents who escape their lonely circumstances not by playing in the dirt, but by sniffing glue.
Jina langu ni Dennis Miyu, niko na miaka 13. Walikuwa wanagonjeka lakini sijui ni ugonjwa gani. Mimi naishi town. Sijui ilikuwa siku gani lakini mimi nilifika town nikalala. Wakati wazazi yangu walikufa sikuwa na njia lolote la kwenda. Ndio nikaamua kuja town. Yani wakati muda mwingine nafanya kazi, alafu muda mwingine naomba. Kwenda huko, yeye mwenyewe ananiambianga tu kuja ulifanyie kazi, alafu ananilipa. Sichaguangi mingi, nachaguanga tu kidogo, wananipa shilingi 15. Pesa ni kukula, alafu ingine nafutia kundu. Mimi naendanga kedo uko nini kidohorobuko na bai bira ya 5 ama ya shu. Ni kulewa tu. Nimechoka. Inaniokoa baridi na njaa. Inanisaidia nikifuta nasikia tupo. Biara sio mbaya. Biara ni poa.
The kids getting the glove, it's depending with the dealers. Like me, if I'm a dealer, I'll go to the guy who's working, fixing the shoe, and then he has like, you know, the bundle deal, like jerrycans of the glues, and I go with this one to town to my friends, all the street kids. So I sell to them.
Most of them have never worn shoes in their lives. They know very well that this kid doesn't have shoes. Knowing that glue is only meant for shoes here is much more of an irony that these people sell them glue.
A tricky but traceable chain of distribution. Business owners in Kitale's textile industry contact a factory in Nairobi to buy glue intended for shoe repair. The factory is owned and operated by the multinational corporation Henkel. The businessmen in turn sell the glue to small-time street dealers who openly peddle it as a drug to an eager consumer base, street boys, selling shoe glue to the shoeless. The gravity of Henkel's involvement is undeniable, according to Joseph Kaguthi.
One company was Henkel that the name kept on coming up. Earlier on, I had information that they were coming in drums. It comes innocently as for the commercial purposes, but unfortunately diluted and released to the streets to the kids.
Numerous attempts to contact Henkel regarding its glue production and sales were met with silence. When it was under pressure for its dealings in the South American glue market, the German-based Henkel did what H.B. Fuller refused to do. It pulled its line of solvent-based adhesives from the streets. Today, the corporation enjoys a good reputation among countless analysts and organizations and is considered a beacon of social responsibility. To its credit, Henkel finances non-governmental humanitarian programs in more than 100 countries, including an HIV/AIDS education and orphan relief center in the heart of Nairobi. However, Henkel continues to allow a comparable solvent-based adhesive from that of its former South American brand to be moved from its African factories, diverted into the black market underground of towns like Kitale, and into the hands of children.
Today, in all cultures of the world, Henkel has earned the most precious asset a company can possess: trust. Henkel also stands for a global enterprise that's helping to shape the future in the new millennium. We work every day to make people's lives even easier, better, and more beautiful than ever before.
From good to great, from better to best. In a world that keeps on turning, it's a change that keeps us loving. The glory of our dream is what we share.
Tomorrow, we will be motivated by the same strong sentiment as 125 years ago. Trust in ourselves and our quality, and in that which stems from trust. Friendship. Henkel, a brand like a friend.
With hundreds of subsidiaries worldwide, including American brands such as Dial Soap, Persil Laundry Detergent, and Right Guard Deodorant, Henkel is still just one piece of the multinational puzzle. Like clockwork, it rains almost every day during Kenya's wet season. Today, as it starts up again, most of the townspeople seek cover indoors. The street boys make do with overhangs and bits of tarp. Charles and Thomas stand exposed to the elements until they reunite with their ailing mother and find shelter.
Wakati mvua ikinyesha, mimi nakaanga tu hapo hivyo ketia. Kama nasikia baridi navumilia tu. Kama mvua inanyesha navumilia tu. Kama niko na joto, itakuwa tu ni sawa. Yani vita nimeona tu mara mingi. Yani wanapigana kwa sababu yani wakicheza karata wanaanza kugombania na wanapigana. alafu yani wakipigana hivyo kila mtu anaumia sana, tena analeta shida kubwa.
Once the rain clears, the street kids enclose around this fight, which could have turned deadly when the blue-jacketed man threatened to cut his gambling partner with a razor. When the fight ends, a few of the young street boys reenact it, jeering at each other and throwing punches. Others imitate another destructive behavior. Bosco, Dennis, and Musa track down a local glue dealer to score a fresh fix.
A company should be held responsible for misuse of its product if the misuse is foreseeable. If they understand it's going to be used in a way that is dangerous, whether or not they intended it to be used that way, they have a responsibility either to try and prevent it, or discourage it, or take some action.
So where they see that that particular commodity on being exported to a country which does not have that capacity to analyze and demand or add something, it is extremely important that adequate pressure is put on them, that glue, which is something that can be done with the technical know-how that they have. And I don't think it would be very, very expensive if they had the moral kind of fiber to start sympathizing with all those dying kids, all those who are addicted, being wasted because of a substance, that they can very easily add something to it to stop the kids from abusing it.
They have a responsibility to take some action, particularly where children are the victims. We're talking about an 8-year-old. Now you got to weigh the judgment of an 8-year-old against the judgment of a multinational corporation. Who do you think should be a little more responsible? For my money, it ought to be the multinational corporation. And if they're not going to take action, if they're not going to act in a responsible manner, then they should be held accountable.
Kindly request the international community to have a human heart, see the damage which is being caused, attempt to get a substance which, when put into the commercial glue, it is repellent to them. It will save quite a lot.
You're never going to be able to control it totally, obviously, but you can make it far less easy, far less accessible. Toluene is so identifiable as a problem that it's such a red flag right now that it cries out for control.
The inevitable physical consequences of glue sniffing are just one threat to the well-being of street children. Halting illicit drug markets, in fact, does little to end the deeply entrenched reality of the developing world. Millions of children homeless, hungry, and, to many powers that be, incredibly vulnerable. In Kitale and other Kenyan cities in the past decade, street boys have increasingly been arrested and imprisoned for months at a time to keep them from being a public nuisance. Following an increase of similar activity in South American cities throughout the 1990s, businessmen began contracting guerrilla soldiers and police officers to round up thousands of glue sniffers. The children were then transported in truck beds to remote locations in the rainforest, where they were executed beyond the public eye. As Kitale darkens into night, the glue boys emerge from the ghettos and alleyways to fill the city streets and scavenge for leftovers of the bustling workday. A few extract some moldy bread from the trash, reheat it over an open flame in an attempt to kill the germs, and frantically devour it. Many are still dazed from the stale fumes of glue they've been breathing in all day.
Watu ni kufuta gamu, kwa kichwa inagonga, watu naona singenge. Mimi nimekaa mwaka moja.
Mwaka moja.
Siku ya leo ni mzuri. Kina kunile matendo ile mbaya. Asa ni muende, nimeenda kulala.
As Thomas and his mother lay down against a wall at Kitale's open market, Charles stands guard, refusing to sleep so he can watch over his brother and sick mother. Less than 2 weeks later, Charles and Thomas's mother passed away. The other boys doze off, some with glue bottles propped against their mouths for the entire night. Tomorrow, if they wake up, they will move about their town and live the only way they know how, sniffing glue in order to survive.